Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Hanna Hermanson. I know it might seem cheesy or cliche, but if you've got a sleeping giant inside of you, or you just feel like you're made for more, then there's no coincidence you landed here on the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. Listen, as a girl from small town Wisconsin who decided to go all in to her dream life vision, I know how crazy it can feel to chase after wild ideas. Since leaving my 9-to-5 job in academics back in 2015 to becoming a yoga teacher, a life coach, and now a digital nomad, currently living in Merida, Mexico with my husband and Labradoodle, I know that all the cheesy cliches are true. I've watched a lot of my dream life become my real life right in front of my eyes. Oh, and I've learned a whole lot about sales, business, and marketing along the way, and I want to share all of that with you. So here, you can consider me your friend and mentor. As a certified business coach, success trainer, international speaker, author, and copywriter, I've helped hundreds of coaches and entrepreneurs build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. So here on the show, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. I'm going to let you into the nooks and crannies of these dream lives and dream businesses and offer lots of real talk along the way. Because to be a true leader in whatever you're endeavoring in your life and to create a legacy that you're proud of, you need a tribe lifting you up with you on the journey. And I've made it my mission to be that partner with you. Because after all, we are all in this together. By the way, if you'd like some help improving your business and life, then we just might be able to help. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com to learn more about what we do and how I might be able to personally support you and just continue this conversation in making your dream life your real life. All right, let's get to it. Hey, today we're hanging out with my friend, really a friend of mine, Louise Henry, who is an online entrepreneur and educator over at louisehenry.com. She is on a mission to empower entrepreneurs to confidently own their online presence. She does this by sharing free tutorials on her YouTube channel and through her online courses, Up-Level with Asana. She's got some others, but that's the one we want to kind of dive into today. She loves seeing entrepreneurs bring their big ideas to life and believes they shouldn't be held back by the tech stuff. Let's dive into it. Thanks for being here today, Louise.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
Yes, before we hit record, we were just chatting about beach houses and the digital nomad sort of lives that we live. So will you fill us in a little bit more on like what's happening behind the scenes with Louise Henry, like what you're really up to, and then we can get into the tech stuff. Fill us in on who you are.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot in common because we both love beach life. We love being digital nomads and being able to work from our laptops anywhere in the world. It's something I always wanted to do. So I just love the topic of your podcast. It's helped keep me motivated so much working towards this dream vision of mine. It's helped me throughout this whole journey. But I've been an entrepreneur for quite a long time now. I tried a few different things before eventually landing on this business here. I really found a love for educating and realized that I had a natural ability of breaking down tech and just making it super simple, like taking it from like, oh my God, we have this complex system or sales funnel or something that we need to create, and just helping entrepreneurs who are very often visionaries, who are creatives, helping them just figure out that streamlined pathway to growth and helping them simplify things and ultimately work smarter, not harder. So that's what the business has evolved to be. I love it. I was living as a digital nomad for a while. So I lived in Bali for a while, Mexico, finally ended up settling in Panama. I wanted a, long-term home base. So settled here. I live here with my husband, Nathan, and my little puppy, Charlie. And we just bought our dream beach house. So that's super exciting. So just having way too much fun and like documenting that on Instagram and showing it's my first home too. So it's all very cool and documenting that coming to life. And I have one core online course, Up-Level with Asana, and that is how to use that project management system to totally streamline your business so that we can not only achieve our big financial goals, but do it in the smartest, most efficient way possible and not like absolutely hustle and burn ourselves out on the way.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing right there that you and I share of like the sifting and the sorting. We've like had a vision, or we know kind of like what we want in our lives, but the how or the vehicle or like what the business model is, we've been open to that evolving. And I think what you said about finding your strengths and what you could do all day, right? With like teaching and like distilling tech principles. And I'm guessing that meant you had to let go of some other ideas or some other business plans, or even some other like titles or an ego really that you had maybe thought of yourself as a business owner. For me, that was a coach. Like, I'm a coach. And now it's like, I'm just a girl living my dream. And it takes lots of different job titles and things and courses and packages to get there. But knowing that about your journey, how do you think you've stayed, or like, what are some tips for staying the course and like keeping your eye on the vision and less focused on the how, since it is always evolving?
Yeah. Being open to that. Knowing, I think what's been very helpful for me is sticking with that big picture vision and like knowing what that is and spending a lot of my time and energy, like focusing and journaling on that. But being okay with like, okay, this is a journey. This is going to evolve. We're going to need to like bring mentors in to help us. We're going to need to join coaching programs and courses and like do all the things and keep figuring it out. So yeah, along the way, like I've had 3 online courses and I found that was just so much to handle, and particularly with tech while it changes all the time. So I was just like really, working so hard and then not being able to actually like get true visibility for those offers, right? If I'm spending so much time on like updates and simply just trying to build out those core systems. So I've since decided to put all my energy into this one course, and that's been awesome. So like, also don't be afraid of like, I always say like, there's so many different ways of achieving the same result. So like, why not it be the simplest? Like there's, and yeah. And a lot of people like, we think we have to do more and more and more. And it's like, that can often, we think that means to expand out of our current offerings and offer more products. But it's like, well, what if you put more energy into the one that you're doing and you just made it like the best product ever? And any customer who came in then was going to tell other customers, and you could really like dial in your sales and marketing. So that's the approach that I've taken now. I also tried a group program because I saw everyone doing group programs and they were like, this is it. Like, this is the way to get to the next level. And I did it. And while I loved working closely with people like that, it was exhausting. Like it was so much work because we really wanted it to be like, a really phenomenal experience. But trying to give personal feedback, for example, to 50 people at a time is so difficult. So that was an interesting experience as well. So I've kind of been open, and I have honestly gotten a lot of help in this area, figuring out like my product suite and even where to focus marketing wise.
Yeah, it's so tempting to say yes, right? Like, okay, yeah, we can try that. We can do that. And I'm definitely feeling that right now in my business with how we're doing done for you copywriting. People are asking me like, can you do podcast show notes? Can you do this? Can you do mailers? Like letters that you send in the mail. And I've had to say no to so many things because I know this, I've learned this lesson, but man, it is still so tempting to be like, yeah, let's just quick make up a mailer strategy and like, let's just quick make things up. But because I know where I want our offer to go and who I want it to reach and what I want it to like stand for, saying no, I found myself saying no so much. And it's really challenging in those moments, knowing you have to like set that boundary of this is where we're focusing, because there are always shiny objects and new ideas. And as an idea person, it's like, well, we could try it. And now, Louise, I know you have a solid team as well. So now that I have a team, it's almost like, well, I do have more people that we could try more things. And it's literally like a daily conversation with myself right now. That's like singularity of focus, like really like disciplining myself to say no more. Have you had experience with that? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It is so hard. It's so challenging because things that will come in that like seem like really wonderful opportunities. And I think also a big lesson I've had to learn is I always think it's going to be simpler and it's going to take less time than it really will. So some things I've said yes to because I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. Like someone will ask me to teach a workshop, for example. So I'll think like, okay, well, I know the subject. It's not going to be a big deal. And then you think of like all the pre-work that actually has to go into making that happen. And then all of a sudden you've lost like 15 hours out of your week. And so I think after you do it enough and you end up like stressed out and not focusing in on what's most important to you in your business, then you're like, okay, I need to get a lot more comfortable with saying no and passing on things that are good ideas. Like, sure, they may be good ideas, but it's not like necessarily the right idea for you in that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that's been helpful besides the like mental discipline and just like, I know this, I don't need to learn this lesson again, is getting more in tune with my like sacral response or like what my body is telling me. And it's so common to like get that like constriction, that like masculine mode that's like, all right, we can do this, just like carried on our back. And I think for me living in Mexico, and I'm curious for you now living in Panama, I felt more of this ease and more of this contrast because I live a lot of my life in like nap time or like more of a relaxed, I still work and I still show up and have more clients than I did in America, but there's like a different, like, okay, like what does my body actually feel? Like I have more space to do that. And I'm curious how your environment may have impacted your ability to scale or make some of these decisions, being in your dream beach home or just being closer to places that feed your soul. Did you notice a difference in this?
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And it's something I didn't necessarily realize was going to have that sort of impact, but that has really pushed me in the direction of like, okay, what do you actually want to be doing each day in your business? Like how much are you willing to commit to this? Because when you're in an environment,
you could be snorkeling or doing so many other things with your day, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And it kind of shifts your perspective of like, we're not actually meant to just live to work or whatever the saying is, it's like, that's not how it should be. And we all start our businesses with this intention of things like more flexibility, more freedom. But as the opportunities and responsibilities pile up, then we start to like, let that take over a bit. So I think this environment, it centers you. It gives you more time. You're like outside with nature all the time. You're like, staring at the ocean and you're like, okay, wait, like what is this life that I truly want to design? So coming back to, having that clear vision for yourself and knowing what that is and then committing to that and like really trying to stay the course rather than being pulled. Because there's so many things that will come up and will try to pull you away.
Yeah. And besides moving to the beach, listening to your body, practicing saying no, there are also tactical things that you and I have both implemented into our systems. Or I gave away a spoiler alert. You and I have both implemented systems into our businesses to help us be able to do that with more ease and not make it feel like it's all on us or it's a like daily challenge. So let's get into your aha moment or when you started to realize, wow, like there are tech tools, systems, delegating procedures, things that I can start doing to help myself work smarter, have more beach time, and be more efficient when it comes to getting to that vision. Talk to us about that aha moment when either Asana or tech in general was just like, oh, wow. So helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could definitely tell you the Asana aha moment was when I first was, really scaling my business and I was starting to do launches in my business. And as we all know, there's so many moving parts for that. And I had this like random mix of like Post-its and notebooks and cute physical planners, which I still think are like the most adorable thing, right? But I would have them. And so I was just like quite scattered. I was quite overwhelmed and flustered. And I think because of that, because I didn't have an actual like system for managing my work, it was all over the place. And I was also like dropping balls. So then I discovered Asana, which for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's a free project management system. So you can get started and like the free plan is incredible and you can just offload everything that's in your mind and you can put it in the system instead. And so I really think of it as like my second brain where I can just offload everything in there. And it's honestly, it is life-changing because it saves you so much mental energy. There's a lot of things that we're doing, especially when we start our businesses and we're solopreneurs. There's so much time wasted, like trying to find files and trying to figure out what the next step is in a particular process, or just figuring out where you wrote something. So I would say that's the main takeaway from that, was having one core place where everything could live. So the aha moment was really like a launch with my planners and stuff. And then my next launch after I'd implemented Asana, and it was like day and night. It was completely life-changing. And the second launch, really, it went so much smoother. We doubled our launch results simply because we were able to like get it done. We were able to execute so much stronger. And I was able to show up because I had so much more energy.
Yeah. Yep. All of that. And I think creative minds that are listening can really relate to the like sticky notes, and you have your own system. Like solopreneurs have gotten this far because they have a system that works for them. For me, it was like my color-coded Google Calendar that just told me what to do every day. Even like, go for a walk, check this Google document. And then when I started getting a team, it was very clear to me that not everyone could be on my calendar or even work like me. And so we implemented Asana at the beginning of the year, and I can totally vouch for the amount of time that's been saved. I mean, it is embarrassing what we were doing last year of like texting each other where to find documents. And like, it was just so much anxiety of where things were. And I found myself feeling like I had to micromanage. And now Asana gives us this like transparency. And it's like, I can compartmentalize. And now I'm going to look at that document on Tuesday and it's going to be there. And I'm not going to have to track down Nikki and Lindsay on my team to be like, are you on your computer? It's just like, it was crazy, but it was normal. It was so normal. And I hesitated to implement anything because I was overwhelmed by all of the check boxes and what they use different paper clips. And I use literally, there's like paper clips in Asana, and like, I use that for different things. So what I would say to myself, obviously, is like, this is a short hurdle to get over for like easy breezy days ahead. But what do you say to that business owner who's like, we're good. Like we've got a system, even though it's not in Asana. Like, what would you say to that business owner who's like, we're making it work?
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, well, you're making it work right now. But like, where are you headed? Like, what is the next level looking like? And is your current system, the way that it's set up, is that actually holding you back? So it might be like holding things together, but like, what about the next level? What is that going to look like as you expand? It's going to get more complicated to be able to rely on that sort of system. So, and plus, I just love freeing up people to be able to focus on growth. And a lot of times, if our system is not where we want, then we're wasting a lot of our valuable, our most precious time, right? And our being able to contribute to the business in the highest level from us as the business owner. So I love being able to pull them out of that. So I do think our core systems, especially for those, and I know, your audience wants to scale up. They want to get to that 7-figure mark and beyond. If you want to go there, then I think it's really important to like approach it in a systematic way.
Totally. Because there was this other like sneaky subconscious thing going on that that was the comfort zone, right? Of like, we're doing it, we're figuring it out because I was putting out fires and chasing Google documents all day. I wasn't pitching magazines like I did this year. Now that we have Asana, and we started using it for project management for our clients. But then when I learned it, I was like, well, this is going to hold me accountable for doing outreach and booking enrollments and like all those other things. I definitely saw how Asana was like such a mindset hack to be like, here it is. Like, you don't have to, it's like, I feel the same way about delegating or hiring a team. It's like, okay, now they're out doing it. Like, it's being done. Now you got to show up for that next level that you said you wanted. And I think tech is a great way to overcome some of that. Like, how will I do it? How will we scale? Just like having some system and support in place is a great way to get you in that position to do the next big, scary, important thing.
Such a good point though, that it can be so comfortable, like the way you're running your business now. And then when we're busy, we feel like we're making progress, but that's not necessarily the case. We might just be maintaining, we might just be supporting our existing clients. And as you said, not doing any outreach, not doing the marketing, not being as visible as we're supposed to be. So I do like Asana because I start it from like the level, just like you, with a big picture vision. Okay, now let's break it down into your annual goals, and we go even further all the way until weekly. So you know what those core things are that you need to be doing every single week in order to move you forward. So think of it as like, yes, it's just this, it's a task manager for sure, but it's more about like the planning ahead of time. It's more about breaking down your goals. And then, as you said, keeping yourself accountable to like, okay, I actually have to do the 5 outreach per week that I decided on, for example.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So let's talk about some of the starting things, like what we need in order to be able to get the most out of Asana. I'm a maximizer when it comes to, I was going to say human design, but when it comes to Strengths Finder, I'm like, how do we make the most of this? And like, when we decided we were going to use Asana, I even like told one of my teammates, I'm like, you're going to go do all of the research to find like all of the things that we need to make this the best. And so what are some of those starting pieces you want to have in place to set yourself up for success?
That is such a good quality to have. Side note. Not
when it comes to like eating out, you're always like, oh, like we could do this better. Like we need more sauce. We should. And my husband's always like, can we just eat this? Cause I'm always like, next time we'll do it like this. And like, yeah. But in business, thank you. It's working all right. Yeah.
Yeah. In business, it's good. So yeah, I mean, know that it's going to take a bit of time to get used to. When you're adopting a new system, especially like this one, it's also like switching your habit, for example, where you like need to check in every single day with this particular system. So just know that it's not going to be seamless. Like when I first logged in, I was like, oh, like I kind of get it, but like not really. And so there was this resistance period, but take it from us and so many others that once you get used to it, it does become natural. It just becomes a natural extension of your day and you actually like rely on it so much. So in terms of getting started, I think one of the first things you can do is, you can go to my YouTube channel and like figure out, because it's kind of hard for me to explain like where to click and stuff, but go to my YouTube channel and you can see some videos on how to get started and like understand the basic frameworks of it. But one of the best ways to start is just input in anything that you're currently storing in your mind. So any like meetings, any recurring, anything like for example, paying your rent every single month, like that's something put in Asana so that you no longer have to think about and remember. So that's one place you can start, is input it all in and then start to categorize your business and figure out like, okay, what are the like buckets in my business and what is actually happening on a day-to-day basis. So I kind of like people to audit their business, because then we can take those buckets and we can organize them in Asana. So you can think of those different buckets as teams, and then we can organize your work into projects after that. So yeah, it's slightly complicated, but I think the offloading all the things that are storing too much mental energy, breaking down your business into those different buckets and figuring out what's good about this is it's going to make you analyze where you're actually spending your time. And I think even doing that is going to be really eye-opening for you. And it gives you, using a tool like this, it gives you a lot more like time awareness as to how long things are actually taking. And you'll start to see, for example, areas that you could be delegating.
Yes, the brain dump, the good old brain dump. I think that's such a good point. And you brought up something that I found later in the game, because I had a very specific, like, we need to manage client projects, get all your documents and drafts for every client lined up. But then, like you said, I started to realize like, I could like remind myself to do invoices. I could remind myself to do those outreaches and like do these other things. So I like that approach better, because I think you can maximize it when you see like all of the things. Because now I've set up that Asana gives me a morning update. So I wasn't trained to go to Asana. I'm trained to go to my email. And so now I just use that like, oh, good, it's in my inbox. I'm reminded to go there every day. What does it look like for you? Or what do you recommend in practice for you brain dump? You can play around, set your due dates, but then like, for me, it's the like using it and not just falling back into the old pattern. So how do you recommend this becomes like a daily practice, or doesn't it? How do you recommend showing up for it?
Yeah, I think it definitely needs to become a daily practice, particularly the My Task. So what this will end up giving you is this like beautiful, very like simplistic. So this beautiful and simplistic color-coded calendar, but it's not just a calendar. It's like your to-do list at the same time where you can actually check them off, which is why I love it so much more than like your Google Calendar, for example. So it's going to be amazing. You can put everything in here. I bookmark that. So that is like the number one thing that I open every single morning. So specifically the My Task calendar view, I love that. And then what you can do either every single morning or the night before. So the night, like the end of your workday, the day before, you can go into the week view of your calendar, and then you can drag and drop the order that you're going to do things. So I love to do that. It gives me so much clarity. If before I like dive into the work, I actually plan, okay, here's what I'm going to do today and in what order. That just gives you so much mental clarity. So it's up to you whether you want to do it in the morning or the day before. But in order to get into the habit of that, like, okay, it's one thing to bookmark it. Yeah. I will recommend to my students that they set an alarm on their phone. Like, okay, yeah, it's a daily alarm, check in. Eventually this will become a habit. You won't even think about it. Yeah. But yeah, there's that initial process for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because at first I was getting so many emails and it was just like overwhelming. And I didn't have that. So I think that's such a great practice of like organizing your tasks at the day before, or just like knowing, like you plan. Yeah. If you don't plan, you plan to fail. Right. And I think that as business owners, when you're looking to go to 7 figures, like there has to be some of this discipline, and you really want to start thinking about how you show up for your business Monday through Friday. Okay. Not every day. I'm not going to tell you to work weekends ever. But I had that resistance too of like, oh, another thing to check. Oh, another thing to learn, another place to go. And it was this like mindset shift for me, right? That was like, or I could like stay down here putting out fires, or I could lean into this tool. And I felt it on my team too. Like we had a couple months of like, reminding each other, like, go do it this way. Like, don't text me about this. I will see it in Slack. Like we had to do some of that training. And I think it's important, like you said, like any other habit, right? You're going to commit to it. You're going to set that alarm. You're going to show up for it because it's working for you. You've crossed the 7-figure mark using these sort of tools and showing up for it and still having a life and not being stuck in spreadsheets all day, which I think is a fear for creative coach types.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. These sort of tools will give you more freedom, even if it feels like a lot of discipline. Like it feels like the opposite of freedom at first. Trust us, like it will get to the point where you're like, oh, I have so much more freedom now because I'm not even thinking about what needs to be done. I can just log in. I can see what the entire team is doing. I don't have to text anyone and be like, hey, is this done? Like you're just going to see it all in Asana. So think of it as like a bird's eye view of your entire business and everything that's happening. And it helps in so many ways. It's going to help you see what is going right, also what isn't going so right, and just give you that awareness of how your business is really operating.
Yeah. And I love, I'm starting to use it for personal stuff. As a team, we really still just use it for client project management. But I can see how when we have a launch or when we create a new business project or a business system, how we'll be able to use Asana because we're already in there. We're already speaking the language, right? Like we have a definition for what is a team, what is a project, what is a task, what is a subtask. And now we'll be able to apply that in so many other places as we continue to scale. So I want to take that detour, the illustrious L word, Louise. I have to tell you that launch has made me cringe for my entire career. Like I literally think about NASA and like as a kid, watching NASA do a launch, they put all this energy, money, real people into this rocket ship. And then we all sit by and just hope it doesn't blow up in front of our eyes. And I feel the same thing in business where I'm just like, oh, way too much risk, way too much like, everything in one rocket ship. So you are someone who I really admire for leveraging launches and still living your life, right? So I would love to hear kind of what your thoughts are around launching. It's obviously something that has worked for you in your business, but talk me down from the ledge that this is like the scariest thing possible.
Totally. Okay. I think that, first of all, I totally get it. I mean, they are. And especially because there are so many different versions of running a launch. So it really depends like whose launch you're looking at. And you might see one and you're like, oh my goodness, like there are so many moving pieces. This is so complicated, etc. So I think with launches, though, the benefit of doing them does outweigh the negatives. And know that you can design your own launch. Like you do not have to do it like other people do. You can design your own way of doing it. And I really, for me, even, you don't even need to use the word launch. You could just use the word promotion instead. And really just giving like your offer the dedicated time and attention for your whole audience that you've spent building like over the last few months to understand what it is that you do and like have a specific call to action to come and join you. So I kind of think of it as like this like big celebratory event where anyone who's just in your audience, but like maybe they're not on your email list or they just joined, whatever. I think of it as an event to like bring all of that together and like really do your offer justice. So in terms of this not being overwhelming, I think you don't have to do it all the time. like, I mean, if you can do once a quarter, that's amazing. Some people only do 2 times a year, once a year. But I do think, like being able to show up in that way is really beneficial. So that's one thing. You can limit how many you do. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's. So you can really design something that works for you energetically, and you can figure out, how you want to show up. Then on top of that, use it in combination with Evergreen. I think I would be so stressed out if I was trying to only launch. That's way too much pressure. As you said, that feels risky and like too much. So I use it in combination with Evergreen sales funnels. So even if I'm not in active launch mode, sales are still coming in the business. So I didn't realize you could do both. But doing both in my business has really helped.
Yeah. And a lot of coaches I talk to don't realize that either, or we all have this, so many of us entrepreneurs have this phenomenon where something is working and then we want to change it. It's like, oh, good. Like ongoing enrollment's been working for a few months. Let's do a launch. And I'm always like why change course when you finally got momentum? And so the conversation I've been having with a lot of our clients who are building a launch and working with us to build a funnel is like, this is the icing on the cake that you have every single day. Like, do not stop your other organic outreach. Do not stop enrolling on the daily, like keep all of that happening. And then let's build this, just like, this is just the icing. We can eat cake without icing. It'll be great when it's done. We need to work on it. We need to decorate it. Like, I think it's so important for us to underscore that what you said, like there isn't one way to do a launch and it isn't all or nothing. You're not really putting everything into one rocket ship. You're just going to test and launch. And I think that mindset is so important when it comes to marketing in general, is just like having this experimental, like, let's see what happens, instead of that like scarcity. Everything must work perfectly or we will blow up. So what does it look like for you now in your business? You have a 7-figure business selling online courses. What does the cadence look like for you right now? How do you keep that ongoing evergreen presence? And like, are you doing launches? What's the like annual calendar if you know?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely having the foundation piece so that we're not super stressed out and we don't have to worry, like be in a state of stress, is to have the evergreen sales funnel set up. So that's something that we've had for a while, just running in the background. And so we will drive traffic to that from YouTube videos, from Instagram. Like we'll just be sending people back to that on an ongoing basis. So really what that is a webinar where I'm teaching, like I'm actually teaching you how to do real tangible things. But then at the end, I do also present the course for anyone who wants to take things to the next level. So we have that. We also have an email sequence that goes out and a limited time offer specific to the person and when they signed up. So we have that because I have found in my business, whenever I was like very passive in selling, like whenever it was like just on my website or like, just available, it never quite worked. So I do play around with like limited time. Here's a reason to jump in or not right now. So I have found a lot of luck with that. So we have that, but then once a quarter, my goal is to do a larger launch. And I've always done 5-day challenges. I love them. I think it gives people quite a lot of time to get to know you, because that's the thing. Like, a launch isn't just for the end sales too. It's also like a nurturing event for the people that are in your audience, to really come like show up with you while you're live on video, for example. So yeah, the goal is to do them once a quarter, but a quarter's already passed and I didn't do one in quarter one, but that is the goal to work up to.
Yeah, I love that. This is something we're thinking about as well as we're ready, like looking to scale, is like, what is the everyday thing and how do we make sure that stays secure? And then I like to think of it quarterly, like just that the month. I have a lot of clients who do monthly, and that takes more ad spend, essentially, right? Like you said, like growing that audience. I think there's a lot that coaches can do organically to get new eyeballs, new people in their audience to be ready for something every 3 to 4 months. I think that makes a lot of sense and keeps enough of that intrigue and enough of that energy for both your audience and your team. I love that, how you're structuring it. Yeah.
Once a quarter feels good and not too overwhelming. And then also, like, a little hack to make launches feel less stressful is to actually template the entire project in Asana. So we'll have like every single email, every single to-do, live, like whatever I need to do, we'll put it all into a project in Asana. We'll template that. And so, like, let's say I launch in March, I can just duplicate that entire task list and I can use that again for quarter 2. So that's also been really helpful to make them less chaotic.
Great pro tip. I think that's genius. And for people who are listening, who are like, all right, I need to get in and I want to use this efficiently. I want to work smarter, not harder when it comes to streamlining and building these systems for day-to-day operations or a launch. Where can they start? Where do you recommend people start learning about how you teach Asana?
Yeah, definitely head over to my YouTube channel, which is just Louise Henry, youtube.com/Louise Henry, and type in Asana, and you'll see a bunch of trainings there to get you started. And then you can also check out my free workshop, which is at louisehenry.com.
Amazing. We'll make sure everyone can check out Louise Henry at louisehenry.com, continue the conversation, and find her on Instagram for those beach house updates. I am all over them. So thank you for being here and sharing so much wisdom, my friend. I appreciate you. And listeners, I'll be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life and business a reality. And don't forget to hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show for specific goodies that we talked about today and access to continue the conversation with these guests as well as myself. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next time.